read to you this line on page 71 of 191. GRU pays for various administrative and certain insurance services provided by the city's governmental and business-type functions. GR receives payment for information technology, telecommunications, certain insurance services, and billing services. And there's no recognition that you were getting gypped, because not only did they take that huge number, 68.5 million, more than the utility earned, thanks to Mr. Belarski, we learned that. They took unknown SLA losses on top of it, and the whole thing had to be financed with interest, sir. And it was called a dividend. A dividend. They took more than the utility earned, and they called it a dividend. That's not a dividend. That's piracy. And it's understated on your financial records. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Ross again. I want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys think the purpose of your board is? Because I've yet to hear anybody ask any meaningful questions of the general manager. You seem to kind of rubber stamp what he does. So what purpose are you guys accomplishing? Because your job is, in my opinion, is to use professional skepticism. That doesn't mean he's not doing his job right, but you got to be asking the questions. So because of these concerns, the thought occurred to me that the entire board really ought to resign, even though there's at least one of you up there that I think is perfectly capable of being up there. But if you read the qualifications from HB 1645, most of you don't meet them, except for Mr. Lawson, because he represents commercial accounts and he's also a CPA. But other than him, none of you are engineers that I'm aware of. You didn't have any experience in the utility industry. We actually have the UAB board here. I think all the members of that board, the advisory board, before you guys came into existence for the city, have experience. I think one of them was on the Public Service Commission, as a matter of fact. So that's respectively, regardless of what happens, the voters by 72% of voted to get rid of the board. So out of respect for the voters, and frankly, Mr. Carter, your term's up, and you're only enabling the governor by staying up there. He needs to appoint somebody else if you guys are going to continue, right? Sure. So you should step down, and I don't believe there's any provision for you to continue to be up there any more than me sitting in your spot right now. So, you know, this is nothing personal, guys, really. But if you're not asking them questions and you're not holding his feet to the fire, and there's things that I see that I have concerns about and they're not being addressed, then you're not doing your jobs. So I don't know if I had anything else about it. So, oh yeah, I did want to say, I did want an answer from the last meeting. There was a $6.3 million difference between what it was shown on the unaudited financial statements for the first quarter of this year through December 31st. And the budget schedule that was presented. The budget schedule presented a $3.1 million profit before the GFT. The unaudited financial statements for the same period of time presented a $3.2 million loss before the GFT. So it's a $6.3 million difference. Come get me.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
All right.
Thank you.
At least everybody didn't run.
You know, I was just going to say, if you don't mind, one more thing. You know, it's usually, lately it's just been me and Conish coming up here and talking, although Angela's back there. I'm sorry, Angela. But maybe you can give us a little more time because, you know, maybe. occasionally.
Thank you.
Because if there were 30 of us standing up here, that's one thing, but anyway. Thank you.
Good evening, Angela Castile. I would like to say that I know that the referendum, there was 73% of the city constituents that were able to vote. Those of us outside were not able to vote. Also, I am a student at UF. Many of those students didn't even understand what they were voting on or about. And when I gave them the story, their jaw dropped. So that just furthers the argument for GRU, is that, it was unlawful and the wording didn't give enough information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other public comment, the next item on the agenda is the director comments.
I'd like to say, as far as our purpose on the board here, we discuss we get a briefing from CEO Bilarski every week before the meeting, and we discuss the topics that are coming up, and all our questions and relevant information that we're curious about pretty much gets answered, for me anyways, at that meeting. And so while it may not come up here in the public forum, other items certainly do come up that it's our job to explain to you and the public what our thought process is. That being said, the CEO knows what my limits are and what I expect out of them. And we're here basically to serve the public and get the public the cheapest rates possible. Why we're here, you don't have to look any further than the 20% surcharge you just got hit with on your solid waste pickup. That's ultimately going to resolve in a higher cost on your bill in the short term, and then your property taxes in the long term. The City Commission didn't even bother to try to find a way to cut money. They went right for your pocketbooks, and that's what we're here for. We're here to stand between you and any wasteful government.
Thank you.
Last meeting, I laid out my personal opinion on what the board was, what I was doing as a board member, in my opinion. In fact, Mr. Ross, you said, thank you. You said you didn't completely agree, but you said thank you. So, which, that's that. As far as, our qualifications or whatever else, it was under the advisory board, if I'm not mistaken, along with the city commission, that GRU went to a mess and money was getting kind of handled out of hand. And as far as not berating Ed publicly, I just think that would be bad leadership. That's why I don't go after him in meetings, stuff like that. We talk, and I mean, I message Ed almost every night with questions and stuff. Tell me this, tell me that. So I'm sorry that may not be completely out to the public, but if you have a question, I mean, Eric, he already said if you have a question, you want to email him directly. We're going to answer them, and Carter said he can make them public too when we answer them. So I just personally, I don't want to go after Ed during the meetings. We do talk though during our personal meetings, and we do talk every night. It seems like I text this guy with a question. So I'm definitely trying, and I don't think that. I think we're using common sense business practices to do better. Maybe some of the qualifications on paper look different, but that's all.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Couple of things. One, GrewCom, I talked to Ed about this. See, I do talk. Talked to Ed about this. We have a great product out there. It's a big secret to a lot of people. I really want this board, and Ed knows my feelings on it, to really push GrewCom, because we got a heck of a product. It was being put in one of my buildings that I represent. The client wouldn't go in unless they had GrewCom. So I said, while I'm here, I went to a couple other offices, and they said, man, I'd love to hear more about it. So I think that's something, Ed, I'd like our board to sort of push you in that direction. The trunk radio electric thing, we got that solved. We have some redundancy now. When the power went out, it was a fluke. I'm just saying that publicly because I was asked.
Yes, that is the case. We're working with Harold Theus at the county, and we're looking at basically 100% redundancy on that.
Perfect, yeah. As far as my experience, I used to be a city commissioner. I've run several businesses. I don't have a degree. You're an accountant, and you can talk me under the table when it comes to accounting. But I'll tell you what, sir, I will sit down with you and any staff member here and tell you where our power is produced, what fuel we're using, what rig's going on, what switch is on, what switch is off. I'll also tell you that I've been out at 2 o'clock in the morning digging up water lines with GRU and replacing them. I'm a contractor, I'm a builder, and I'm a businessman. That is the qualifications for here. When I hired that man to run this utility when I was a city commissioner, I told him one thing: I don't care if you can flip a light switch on, can you manage good people? His answer was yes. I believed in him then, and I believe in him now. I do communicate with Ed, just as the rest of the board does. We don't typically bring our questions here. Would I like more stuff in public? Yes. But anytime you want to sit down with me and talk about power, I'll be happy to. And if you're not able to answer all the questions on power, will you never come to this room again? That's like telling me not to show up. You're an accountant. That's what you focus on. No, I'm just saying. No, I mean, you're sitting there, you're saying I'm not qualified. I hear you in the back of the room talking to people about me. Well, that's not true. It's until the governor reappoints.
That's not what I read.
Oh, well, my suggestion, sir, is call the governor, because I have.
Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm just saying, I'm addressing what you said.
I don't want to argue with him, I just want to.
Call the governor. That's all you have to do. It's real simple. He's up in Tallahassee.
A letter somewhere?
Yeah, call him. Mr. Attorney, am I supposed to be here?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay.
I checked with him. I checked with the governor's office. I know you think I'm stupid because I don't have a degree and I'm not qualified. But trust me, I'll take you on any day when it comes to power. I just get offended when people sit out there and just say we're not qualified. Talk to Ed. And also, back to the vote. Again, it says up on that wall up there, this utility is owned by the customers it serves. Those should have been the votes. Not just the city of Gainesville, the customer it serves. And that's what this company was built on. So I don't put a whole bunch of weight into misinformed people that got misinformed and voted. I'm sorry, period. That's the end of mine.
Thank you. That's the end of the director comments.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is CEO comments.
I think I'll be pretty gentle. I did want to address a couple things. One of them is that we haven't identified SLA losses. We're allocating the right money between our organizations. The difficulty we had on the IT SLA has been resolved. We're getting remunerated for the amounts in which we expend on government services. We have a risk SLA. The allocation is worked on by BFA. We have the payroll, which are for services. We have HR. So this idea that there are these outstanding SLAs, this amorphous cloud of losses, is not true. Secondly, the idea that the $400 million of net assets are a fraud, those $400 million in real fair market value is probably increasing. We're long on power. We went through a period where power, you didn't want to be long on power. It's a good thing right now. We have valuable assets out there, even though they're old. They're not diminished in terms of value in the community and with other utilities that, are looking for this. We have huge data centers that are being built across the country that are looking for these kinds of situations where you're long on power. So that, again, the idea that our net assets are a fraud is a fraud in and of itself. Then the idea that we overpaid $300 million for the biomass plant. Of course, you all know that's near and dear to my heart. The $460 million that was paid for the Nacogdoches facility in Texas was because it was they owed $800 million. We paid $750 million because we owed $2.5 billion. If you compared the two, we got a deal. So you're looking at the bottom line, but you got to compare it to the obligation that you were getting yourself out from under. So that's not true as well. The difference in bottom line makes it sound like there's something nefarious going on. That's simply the difference between cash and accrual accounting that is being reflected. And the interest income going up has to do with the federal interest income going up. That's all. With that, can you put up just the one chart that I had sent out? I sent this out. Actually, Dave Worm sent it out. I was just really so happy that, we have real progress in the bills that go to the customers. And that's what all the directors have told me. That's what you're there to do, is to drive the bills down for customers, get them a good value, and also be reliable at the same time. Our reliability hasn't diminished. Our services haven't diminished, but we've moved from number 5 in the chain. I know it's hard to see, but we've from basically the second highest muni in the state to the 7th highest, and we went from the 5th highest down to the 12th in terms of all utilities. That's a big move in a short period of time. And we're literally within one standard deviation of the mean, close to getting to 1/2. And a director up there, Craig Carter, knows that the goal at the commission was to get to 1/2 of one standard deviation away.
And keep the quality service.
Right. So we're about $5 a month from getting to that goal that was set way back when. That's what this group is doing. This is what the authority is doing. Sorry, get a little
Thank you, Ed.
emotional there. I'm done.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is attorney comments.
Mr. Chair, Kirsten Blue was asked to give a real brief presentation on sunshine law, so she's prepared to do that. I would say that every year our office gives a more in-depth. Jack was there, and you all are welcome. You'll get an invitation. We'll do that probably twice, perhaps one for you all separately, and then also for the group. So either one, you're welcome to come to. Our view is that you have to comply with a 4-hour requirement, and the in-depth presentation that we have at our office does that. So you'll be welcome to come to that.
Kirsten, could you also email this to all the members?
Absolutely. So I've provided you with a physical copy so that you have it in front of you. I won't go through every single thing in here. This is obviously a lot of information. I'm just going to hit on the high points. And like Scott said, you all are under the requirements of Form 1. Which means that you have to fill out a Form 1 every year. If you need that information, we are happy to get you that form. It is basic financial disclosures as well as ethics training, certification. So that's a yearly requirement for each and every one of you. If you have questions on the specifics of that, again, happy to talk to each of you about that. If you have not done that, now would be a good time to get started on it. The presentation, like Scott said, that we give every year is 4 hours long. It covers your 4-hour requirement. This is not that, so this does not fulfill that requirement, just to be clear. This is just a sort of Cliff Notes version. The basic requirements that we want to touch on are sunshine law, public records, and then ethics. So sunshine law is pretty clear. Sunshine law is the reason that your meetings are open to the public. It's the reason that all of your meetings have to be open to the public. They have to be advertised so that the public understands that what you all are doing and the discussions that you're having. The requirement under the sunshine law is that any discussion between any of you about anything related to GRU or GRUA or any of the business that we do here as a board has to occur at a public meeting. What that means is you can't email each other, you can't call each other, you can't text each other. You can text each other about how is your day. Gainesville's a small community, so I know we like to check in on, how are your kids doing and that kind of thing. But if it comes to business that might come in front of this authority board, you all have to have all of those discussions in a public meeting. So again, happy to go into like the specifics of that if there are any questions, but that's just the sort of general broad rule regarding ethics training or regarding sunshine law. The next sort of category is public records. Every single thing that you all write down that you intend to use in order to relay information or remind yourself of information, et cetera, that has to do with this board, that is public record. You have to keep that. Our recommendation is to send that to your clerk so that your clerk has a copy of it. Any text messages or emails or anything like that that you all have in written form is a public record and you must retain it. If you are requested by anyone to provide public records, you must comply with that request. They do not have to give you a reason that they want the public records. You can go through your clerk to assist you with sort of the specifics of how to compile those and how to provide them and all of that good stuff. But that's sort of the general requirement. Yes.
Question, personal notes not shared are not public record.
Right, personal
But
notes
if I
that
were
are
to make a note and then show it to Eric, it's now a public record, right?
correct. If it's a note to yourself that just says, interesting,
Check on XYZ.
check on XYZ. If you then write an email to Ed that says, I made a note to myself to check on XYZ, that's public record. Okay, so once you
Referring
use.
to the note,
Once you use the information that you've written down to transfer knowledge to someone else about something, that is what makes it a public record. So if it's really just for your own information, it's not transmitted, that's sort of a different story. But as soon as you use the information that you've written down, then it is public record. The public records law is very, very broad. There are very, very few exceptions to it. It can include things like addresses and phone numbers and those kinds of things. So really just kind of keep that in mind when you're writing anything down or documenting anything at all. So that's sort of public records. And again, I'm really just hitting the highlights here. Third category is ethics. So ethics is basically behave in an ethical way. Don't misuse your position for your own private gain. If there's something that this board may vote on that would inure to your special private benefit, you need to recuse yourself. In the event that you recuse yourself from a vote, you have to fill out a specific form, which again, we're happy to talk to you about that. If you feel like there might be something or you have even an inkling that it might be your special gain when we talk about one of these things, please contact our office well before the meeting so that we're not hashing it out in real time. If you have a willful failure to file your Form 1, that is an ethics violation. If you solicit or accept gifts from anyone without reporting those gifts, and then there are also very specific regulations regarding who you can even accept any amount of gift from. That can be an ethics violation. If you receive any unauthorized compensation for your work here, or you disclose or use certain information that you have only as a part of what you do here on this board, and you use that information for your private gain, then that is also another form of ethics violations. All of these are criminal actions, so there are criminal proceedings that can come of ethics violations, or criminal proceedings that can come of Florida's sunshine law violations, as well as public record violations. So again, there's tons of information in the packet I've sent you. There's even more information in the full 4-hour ethics presentation. I'm happy to send you all that information, but I really just sort of wanted to hit the highlights so that we're all informed.
Kirsten, on the public record request, my expectation is that those go through sort of Ed's office and that those are coordinated through his office to us. Like if somebody comes to me, I'm gonna send them there. And let, the IT folks manage those kinds of situations.
Yeah, so what you can't do is say, no, sorry, I can't help you. You'll have to go to someone else. You can say, oh, I'll forward your request to the individual who can get you the information that you need. So that's absolutely
Is there
appropriate.
someone in charge that does that at GRU?
Yeah, actually, that falls under Tom Brown. He has a gentleman, Barry Corp., who handles all that for us.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And they're very good at it, I would say, too. They're very experienced. From my review, they know the exemptions, they know what should be provided, and they do it in a timely fashion per the statute. So they're very good at it.
Did you hear that, Barry?
The cell phones and the text messages. Can you address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
'Cause
So.
I came under that at the city commission.
Yeah. There are certain best practices recommendations that we make regarding assisting you in being able to best defend against any potential allegations of a violation of sunshine law or assist you with public records gathering. Our recommendation for best practices is that you have a separate cell phone that you use only for GRUA-related business. That way, you're not trying to, you don't have a text message thread that has business and then personal and then business, because that can get very, very complicated, and potentially the entire thread, including the personal information, can be provided to the requester. So there are best practice that we recommend is keeping them very, very separate. Because as Mr. Carter has pointed out, there is the potential that your personal private messages, because they're sort of interspersed with business-related messages, can be available to the public upon request. So the best practice is just to keep that super, super separate. Can't emphasize that enough.
I got a question. We were attacked, in my opinion, on social media by someone who's not here. That's why I didn't bring it up earlier. And then they tagged each one of us in the social media post, and they tagged our email, like our personal social media. And they emailed us. I didn't call these guys and tell them, hey, did you see we're attacked on social media? But is that something I can do? Can I call them and say, hey, we're being gone after on social media? Or is that we just leave that alone? And
Yeah, so you can't really discuss anything that you all might have to do with this board.
Okay.
Yeah.
From our standpoint, we need to be accessible to you all. So if you need to call us, Jean is our receptionist at the office, and she can, if I'm not available, Kirsten's not available, she's directed to find somebody available to you. And if we can't do that, then get you on the calendar and respond. So if I'm in court or in mediation or whatever, that we respond. It might be after 5 o'clock or after 6 o'clock before I respond, but I will respond. And I want each of you to have my cell phone number, so I'm accessible to you, and office number, all that sort of thing. So what I don't want you to do is be wandering in the woods and
guess.
and not
Don't guess.
and no response. That's what we're there for.
Thank you.
I know when I was on the commission, I had a rule, I don't take a glass of water for free. And I do use my personal cell phone for all of it, because there's nothing on my personal cell phone that I'm afraid of. And Gainesville Sun's the one that demanded they had a list of texts, so what I did is I handed them my phone, said, have at it. They spent 2 hours through my phone, and they said, you're very boring and you're supporting Ed Brady. That was their findings. But, if you do sensitive stuff on your phone, have a separate phone. And if someone calls you on your phone, say, call me back on my GRU phone.
All right, happy to answer any questions, but those are the highlights.
Thank you so much. Thanks for doing that for us.
The next item on the agenda is business discussion items, beginning with 2025-178, State of the Utility, fiscal year 25, January. The recommendation is that the GRUA Authority hear a monthly update from the utilities' operational areas.
evening, Chair Lawson, directors. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. Tom Brown, Chief Operating Officer at GRU. I think you have in your packet the State of the Utility for January. I'd like to bring a few highlights to your attention. Basically starting out with safety. We had 0 instances of safety in the month of January. We've had 4 recordable accidents year to date. None of them I would classify as really serious, but that's 4 more than I would like to have. On vehicles, we had 2 accidents in January. 1 was preventable. We've had 8 total for the year. 3 were preventable, which means we hit 3 people, 5 people ran into us. So that's kind of the score. Not that we keep score. That's the way it is. How you hit a great big line truck, I don't know, but people are on their phones and they manage to run into us all the time, even with our big stickers on the back. So, regulatory compliance, we had no non-compliances year to date, and that's been going on for years. We do an outstanding job in that area. We do have an audit coming up on May 19th with NERC. It's a big deal. They come through and they select out of our requirements 5 or 6 different procedures, and we have to show that we've demonstrated compliance with them. It's not enough anymore that we do the work. We have to prove that we did it, and that means documenting and dotting all the I's, crossing the T's, and things like that. And our folks have gotten really good at it. And to give you an idea, I think there's probably in the neighborhood of 1,300 different requirements that we have to do every day to be compliant with just NERC alone. So it's a big job, and our people do an outstanding job for you. Environmentally, we've had no violations year to date. In the water wastewater section, forgive me, Debbie, we've had 3 boil water notices, 7 year to date, and we've had, in the month of January, 3 sanitary flow overflows. We have 8 of those year to date. Personnel-wise, we had a total of 23 vacancies across the operating divisions, 3 in water, wastewater, 12 in energy supply, 8 in energy delivery, and that's out of 581 filled positions. So it's about normal for us. Going from there. Budget-wise, I think we're doing pretty well. We did for the month of January. It's a very cold month. Gas pricing spiked on us during the cold spell. So we were about $2.5 million over what we had budgeted for the month of $9 million. Reliability, we did pretty good. We had 38 outages during the month, overhead, and 5 underground, and 2 involved both. So some of the pipe wires go underground and they come up around, so we call those both. 8 were basically attributed to vegetation, 2 to animals, squirrels. 12 were equipment failures on overhead, 5 underground, and there were 7 undetermined. Sometimes we go up and roll up to them, and they don't really find anything wrong, but they get the power back on. So I think noteworthy, going forward, there's a couple things for February and just in general. We were notified this month that we achieved diamond status. And this is an award given out to utilities for high reliability. This is the 3rd time we've achieved this. They're good for 3 years. Across the United States, there were 91 utilities that got the award. There were 38 that got the Diamond Award. So we scored 99 out of 100 points on the questions you have to answer to qualify for the reliability. So the guys are doing a great job for you out there. In addition, this past month, we completed the replacement of the wooden poles on the Bradford line. We call it Hampton Tie. There were 100 poles. We had 2 crews out there. They did it in 2 weeks. So they went from wood to steel. Right now, we're about 85% deployed on our AMI system, and we're on track to get that done by the end of the year. And we're working diligently to try and get the software in place to actually interpret that data and provide some really good stuff for our customers. I guess.
Question, sir. On the AMI, is that 85% water meter and gas or just electric?
The electric's almost 100% deployed. I think we are, Chad's in the back room, he can correct me, but I think we're about 75%, hang on a second, sorry.
That's a $5 penalty in Rotary.
Yeah. $5. You cut it down, you told me 10 before, so I'd be glad to do that. I think we're about, Chad, 75% on gas, and I think 56 on water. Does that sound about right? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's a big job. There are 220,000 meters. It's a big deployment, a lot of work. Still got 30 or 40,000 to go yet, though. In February, we're currently, the Kelly plant across the street is down on a scheduled outage. Would have been offline regardless whether we had an outage or not. Florida Gas Transport is actually doing maintenance work on the gas lines, so we wouldn't have had any fuel available for the facility. FGT is also going to be doing some work on our gas lines up north, so we're going to have a little bit of change at Deer Haven 2. We're probably going to be going over to coal once FGT is done in the south and move up north, and that'll happen. We also had DHR return to service late at the end of January. It's been performing well for the month. It's still in the money cash-wise on the fuel, so we're kind of glad to have that back in the mix. Also ongoing right now, we have some major capital work going on at the Main Street treatment plant. This is a multi-year project, going to be $150 million capital expenditure. We're currently in phase 1, and they're working on the headworks, but it's a pretty big project. Get the opportunity to get out and see the work they're doing. It's pretty outstanding. We also had some ongoing work on water distribution work tied to the Alachua County, Northwest 23rd Avenue improvements. The teams in water put in a 1,200-foot of 16-foot water main by a directional bore. And to me, that's absolutely amazing that you can drill a line that far, that big, and actually have it come out of the ground where you want it. They've got some pretty swift equipment that they use to monitor how that's working, but it impresses me. In addition to that, we had about 600 feet of 8-inch water main on the same project. It was a directional bore on the south side of Northwest 23rd Avenue. So if you've seen our people out there working, things blocked off and stuff, that's what they've been working on. And I also would like to make mention, there are actually some groups out there that are pretty pleased with what we do. And I would like to just make note of a few things here. We were notified by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection that one of our operators at the Canapa Water Reclamation Facility has been selected to receive the 2024 Wastewater Plant Operations Excellence Award and recognition for outstanding treatment, plant operation, maintenance, compliance. So congratulate him. In addition, the same agency gave the facility itself an award, the Canapa Water Reclamation Facility, selected to receive the 2024 Wastewater Plant Operations Excellence Award in recognition of outstanding treatment, plant operation, maintenance, and compliance. So congratulations to the Canapa crew for that. In addition, we were notified by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection that Main Street Water Reclamation Facility has been selected to receive the 2024 Wastewater Operations Excellence Award in recognition of outstanding treatment, plant operations, maintenance, and compliance. So that's on that. And in addition, not to be left out, the Murphy Water Treatment Plant. They have been selected by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to receive the 2024 Potable Water Plant Operations Excellence Award in recognition for outstanding treatment, plant operation, maintenance, and compliance. So that's pretty good. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this one too. Congratulations go out to Scott Holowasco. Scott is our utility emergency manager, and he received the 2025 Thomas Yadabe Award from the Florida State Emergency Response Commission. And this prestigious award honors the outstanding contributions to the North Central Florida Local Emergency Planning Committee and his dedication to hazardous materials planning and response. So, let's see. think that's about all I had for you this evening. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to
Any
answer.
questions for Tom?
Thorough, good job. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, and congratulations on the accolades and acknowledgements and.
We have a whole lot of good people out there that work really hard for you every day. They do good stuff.
Thanks for sharing that information.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda actually still falls under business discussion items. Number 2, 2025-175, Gainesville Regional Utilities MOU with the city for stormwater management, utility, and solid waste billing services. The recommendation is that GRU Authority hear the presentation and recommend GRU to continue work with the city to move these billings off of GRU's bill no later than November 2026, given the scheduling requirements.
Do you have the PowerPoint that you're? Oh. It is? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Let's see.
Good job, Ed.
Yeah, I'm really grinding this to a halt. Yeah, I need assistance.
Utility, but not a remote.
I'm not getting an excellence in presentation award tonight, that's for sure. Oh, thank you. I want to start with the idea that for years, GRU has worked with the city, general government, to facilitate their billings of solid waste and stormwater fees. It's been a very amicable relationship. It's proved to be beneficial in that the general government hasn't had to set up their own billing system and a host of other things. One of the events that made us think a little bit about this relationship was the tenor of the board and what we're trying to do as a utility and to drive our utility bills down. When you have other things on the bill, it makes it very difficult for people to make an apples to apples comparison. So we naturally started thinking about how can we carve this out? And then when there was an increase in the fees that were being charged for solid waste at general government, it kind of rose to another level. We started thinking about it a little harder. And then, we have a memorandum of understanding with the city, and there's a 24-month period of time that we have to give them notice before we change over those billings. It's there to, facilitate the process of moving it over either to a new billing system or to do it on the real estate tax bill that would be handled through, John Powers' operations. So in the process, I talked to the board, and I also talked to the city manager to see if there was some way that we could facilitate a more rapid movement away. And actually, during my vacation, the city manager sent a memo back to me that we put as a late addition in the packet, in which she gives you the very detailed elements of what they will have to do to move this forward. But it ends it by saying that they can sunset the current MOU and the city is agreeable to modifying the termination clause to be effective on September 30th versus November. I think that given all that we're going through in trying to reduce the bills, I think this is something that's advisable for the organization to do, that when people get a utility bill, they're getting our services. And in many other jurisdictions, they put the stormwater, they put the garbage bills on the real estate property tax bills. will cost GRU some money. We get $800,000 from the city to facilitate this billing. So for us to do it, we're going to have to find ways in which we can be more effective and reduce our costs by the amount of money that we're losing. I think our organization is ready to do that. I think that, what Chair Lawson mentioned about, us not equipped to really handle, non-metered billing is part of this decision as well. So I'm asking the board to allow me to continue this process and working with the city manager to come up with a modification on our MOU moving forward. So I'm open to any of the.
Motion, or do you need a motion from the board for
It would
that?
be best to do a motion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we instruct the CEO to pursue separating the trash and the stormwater off of the GRU bill and work with the city on that, sir.
Second.
Get into it.
So we have a motion and a second. Public comment on the motion.
Mr. Chair, Jim Conish. I've been asking for this for 15 years. Mr. Belarski fails to mention that he overbilled 51,796 meters for $120,000. He'll overbilled them. And he overbilled them. He owns the bills, he sets out. He didn't mention that at my house, if I don't use anything, I'm billed $119.07, including the connection fee amortized over a year. And half of that is stormwater and garbage. Mr. Belarski does not empathize with the people being disconnected because they're taken off from 119 and running into sky-high rates. He doesn't seem to be aware that these draconian fixed charges cannot be absorbed by low-income customers, resulting in disconnection and non-payment of these fees while they continue to have their garbage picked up. Mr. Belarski does not mention that if you don't pay the whole wad, they take your electricity away first because it's tied to the meter. I talked to Mr. Power, there is no S, an elected official, an honorable and decent man. Normally, these fees are billed in advance. But under these circumstances, he's concerned that as soon as it comes off the GRU bill, people get 12 months of payments on their tax bill, and if you don't pay the whole thing, they don't take your payment and you can lose your house. I would ask you to tell Mr. Belarski to take it off the bill January of 2026 and direct the city to negotiate with Mr. Power the collection of these fees in arrears, as with the property taxes, to ease the burden on low-income people who actually own their houses, and so they don't have to pay 12 months of fees up front the next month after it comes off their GRU bill. I don't speak for Mr. Power, but I think that he's very concerned about the logistics and the timing. And I don't think anyone here wants to see low-income people losing their houses. But if you don't pay their tax certificate, they'll sell a certificate. And if you don't deal with it, they'll auction your house off at the courthouse. Mr. Belarski shows an incredible lack of understanding that these sky-high fixed charges, including the customer charge, which is the second highest in the state, are killing low-income GRU customers within the city limits. It's killing them.
Thank you, Mr. Conish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Ross, can I just briefly, Mr. Carter, I wasn't including you in my comments because in the position I've taken is you're no longer part of the board. Now, if you were reappointed by the governor, and you came to a meeting and you were re-sworn in, I must have missed it somehow, so. But that wasn't an E-strike, and frankly, I don't know why you get so mad at me about maybe you saying you weren't qualified when you get accused from everything under the sun by one of the other speakers, but.
We'll talk after the meeting, I'll be happy to tell you.
Okay.
And there is, just because.
I'm happy to talk to you, of course, but
On the
I didn't mean
airport
to, I did not mean to
On
offend
the
you.
airport board,
Or
there's
okay, let me
been
talk.
people 8 years, 7 years after appointed from governor. You're on until you're reappointed.
That's not what it says in the bill. That's where we disagree. And
Okay, great.
So, just letting you know that you weren't part of my comments. Okay. The reason I came up here was because I think I should, and I'm not certain of this, but where I used to live, which is in Miami-Dade County, all of the items that were on the bill, whether they be ad valorem or non-ad valorem, were eligible for the 4% discount, 3% discount, 2% discount. So you might need to take into effect, and it may not apply in Alachua County. Each county may be separate. I don't know. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Mr. Carter, anytime you want to talk, we can talk.
Hang out, we're gonna be done in a minute. Don't leave, that's the problem. Everybody hauls butt. They throw hand grenades and run.
Okay, back to the board comments. Any additional comments?
I do. So, Mr. Conish is right. This has been, the first thing he talked to me about when I was running was this. My problem is, I'm a businessman, and it's hard for me to get rid of $850,000 for, quite frankly, collecting money. Very difficult. But as I talk to people, and very well-educated, respected people that work in your hospital as doctors, they cannot separate the fact, the bottom line of this bill versus the bottom line of a Clay Electric bill. After I explain it to them, they go, I didn't even think about it, you're right. Because people pay the bottom line. And to the point of, the city will actually get more money if they put it on the tax assessor. Because if someone doesn't have an electric meter, they're not paying for garbage or stormwater, even though that house could be sitting there for 20 years, they're not paying for either. They're gonna have to put file something saying they don't get garbage, but stormwater will be collected. And then Ed and I have talked about this, really almost getting pretty pronounced on the electric, the water, and setting the taxes aside. And red was my suggestion. This is not part of your bill either. This is the city. And then a question, do we get paid for collecting the taxes for the city? When I collect sales tax for the state, they pay me a fee. So does the city pay us a fee? I'm just trying to figure out how to make up that $875,000.
Well, I think we're going to open up any alternatives that we can. I mean, I think there's some efficiencies associated with this. I also think, there's certainly other avenues that we're going down. And I would differ with some of the things that were said here. Part of what drove a lot of this is that, and these are part of the efficiencies, we have calls in the call center because people can't pay bills. Part of that is this amount. Part of our shutoffs are because they can't pay this amount. Attaching this fee to an electric service is costly to GRU, and it's not the right thing to do. So on several levels, it works for me as the manager.
And Mr. Chair, we also get calls for garbage pickup because it's on our electric bill.
I have people in my
No, I know.
neighborhood that don't understand
Right.
that, we just handle the calls and the billing, and then we have to transfer them over to the city. It's a very inefficient way of doing something. So, yes.
Thank you. So I have a request. I don't think there needs to be an amendment to the motion, but Ed, what I would ask is that in a future meeting, that you come back, that it is a loss for the utility. And so I would like to see your efforts in how we can tighten our belt and find other savings that would offset this loss. And it would be just helpful for me to see, okay, here are the things we did that we think are going to offset that loss. because I agree with the decision and where we're going, but it would be helpful just to know that we found other ways to make up for that. And it might be expanding the gas, like you talked about earlier, or, you know, and group com, some of those kinds of things. But I'd love to see that it balanced out at the end of the day, because that's one of the things we are challenged with.
I will tell you, in my meetings, that's been one of the primary focuses. We will find that savings. Haven't had volunteers yet at this point, but we will find those savings, and I will bring that back.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is resolutions. Let me remind you that this is a roll call vote. The resolution states as follows. Resolution 2025-177. Resolution of the city of, let me start over. Resolution of the Gainesville Regional Utilities Authority, a unit of city government of the city of Gainesville, Florida, approving the execution, delivery, and performance of one or more natural gas supply agreements with Municipal Gas Authority of Georgia, the Gas Authority, and other documents respecting natural gas prepayment transactions with Main Street Natural Gas and for other purposes. The recommendation is that GRUA adopt the proposed resolution authorizing participation in a natural gas prepayment transaction between the Gas Authority and Citibank.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we adopt resolution 2025-177 as stated.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second, public comment. Okay, back to the board for discussion. One of the things I just want to point out, and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, the way that these programs work that I think is really exciting is that these are reflected in our fuel costs, which are passed directly back to the customer, versus another expense where we may save an expense somewhere, but that may not be reflected in the customer's bills.
It gets diluted.
You know, we have to actually change our rates. This goes directly back as a savings to our customers. That's what, you know, not only is it a savings, but it's felt as the savings are experienced. And so I'm really excited about that.
That's an excellent point.
This is the roll call, I'm sorry.
I would also add that this amount that we got, the 61 cents as a discount, you correct me if I'm wrong, Claudia, but I think it was the highest in the Gas Authority's history in discount. So talking about timing being everything. I mean, great job to that group, 61 cents.
For the roll call vote, let the record show that Director Skinner is absent and will not be voting. Director Jacobs, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Carter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Chair Haslam, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair Lawson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion passes with all present in favor. The next item is the director comments.
Jack, anything?
I'd just like to say, again, congratulations to Ed and his coworkers and all the workers at GRU for the job they're doing. This is the kind of thing that we're looking for, the diamond success and all the metrics, and even a lot of the financials and stuff are looking really good, and that's what we like to see. So congratulations on slowly moving this ball forward.
Thank you. David?
Nothing tonight, I'm good.
Just, again, congratulations to all the people that work for GRU on these achievements. And Debbie, I sort of want to call you out. We've been texting back and forth with a client for a few months, and it's just unfortunate circumstances of understanding. But I will say Water and Wastewater has really, you've done a great job, and they recognize that. It's just hard for them to throw that flag up real high. But thank you so much again, and just GRU's employees for the service we get. GrewCom on. So, thank you.
And I have no further comments, and we are adjourned. Thank you.